Well, you've got a global audience. You've got some of the most famous and beloved people in the world sitting before you, and you have an opportunity to say just one thing. What would you say? I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this episode of Right Angle is, theoretically anyway, for members only. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making it possible. Gentlemen, the person that I am positing this little thought experiment about is actually Robert DeNiro, who you may have heard of as a famous Hollywood actor, but apparently has been in some stage productions as well and was asked to appear at the Tony Awards to present some sort of award, I believe, to a Mr. Bruce Springsteen, who had a Broadway show. And he comes out, Robert De Niro does, onto the stage and starts out by saying, I just want to say one thing. Okay, and I'm like, you're on the edge of your seat. That's all he's going to say is one thing. This actor who has said so many famous lines in his career, what is that one thing? Well, Bill, can we roll the tape?
I'm going to say one thing. Trump. It's no longer down with Trump, it's Trump.
Now, of course, this is a family-oriented program, so we bleeped out the one thing that he had to say, but the one thing consisted of two words, and the first word starts with an F, and the second word starts with a Y, but sounds like it's another letter. He didn't only say it once, gentlemen. He actually then repeated it and said it's no longer down with Trump, and then he said that one thing again. I was fascinated by this. Bill Whittle, you are in California, in the Los Angeles basin, as I like to call it.
The sinkhole.
That's right.
Tar pit. Yeah.
What are those little basins you use at night if you can't get to the bathroom? What are those called?
Oh, I don't know, privy pots or something like that.
Yes. So
chamber pots.
Chamber pots. Thank you. Here's this, man he's still at the height of his powers. Has done some terrific movies in the last couple of years. The elder statesman of Hollywood, and comes out and says something that you would expect to hear on a playground from a 13-year-old boy. What do you make of what drives an otherwise dignified individual who's got all the money he could ever want and all the adulation to say that?
Well, first of all, I wish I'd been able to contribute some work for Trump's Twitter campaign, because after De Niro said that, if I was Trump, I would have tweeted, "You talking to me? You talking to me? I'm the only one here. You talking to me?" That's what I would have said in response. For those of you who may not know that iconic scene, it's Robert De Niro's real breakout role in Taxi Driver, and it's a classic scene. Robert De Niro is one of the greatest actors who ever lived. He's also a particularly stupid human being, and these things often go hand in hand. I know I'm going to make myself some friends with my old friends, but I've basically been around actors since I was 15, 16 years old, and I was a theater major and so on. I know actors pretty well. There's a good reason why actors were not admitted into towns or cities until the 20th century, or maybe the 19th century. All throughout the Middle Ages and so on, they were considered to be a bad moral influence on people because they didn't work and because they were such consummate liars. And that's why they didn't let acting troupes into town. Actors in Shakespeare's time, including Shakespeare's own company, the Chamberlain's Men, would go to Oxford University to perform, and Oxford would pay them to go away.
Hey, nice work if you can get it.
Because they were afraid that they might snooker people because they were
known to be magnets for immoral behavior, but individually were known to be simply not serious people. You got to understand, in the Middle Ages, working basically meant going out, oh, there's some fine filth over here, Dennis, that kind of thing, and so it was not pleasant work. And the idea that people could simply get by prancing around and making faces was kind of repulsive, as it remains today for those of us who work. And I'm one of those people that prances around and makes faces. So I just wanted to say that because there has always been a quality to the people that are drawn to acting to be taken seriously. It's almost overwhelming, which is why you see Woody Allen, who is so adept at comedy, and I have to admit is also very adept at drama, but they want to be taken seriously. Woody Allen hated the fact that everybody loved his early funny movies and didn't like his later ones. He talks about that in Stardust Memories, and Jim Carrey is another great example, right? Here's a guy who's a comic genius who has to go and make these serious movies. He just recently did one about a guy in Ukraine or something. And he's trying to show everybody how serious they are. There's a quality about a fine actor that allows a special kind of person to become somebody else, to inhabit another person's psyche, not just their body, inhabit their psyche. And I think that over time, a number of those people begin to feel the sense that I have something to say. And this is in our pregame show, Scott. You said that he's like a Meryl Streep, and he is. Meryl Streep is also a superb actor. And she also is in the same boat as I have to have something important to say. This is why you always have celebrities making comments on things, right? They want to sound important. I'm not just, the Dumb and Dumber guy. I'm also a deep thinking philosopher. Best way to think about actors are people who go into Starbucks with a copy of War and Peace under their arm and then open it up and they put on their glasses. And I've seen this with my own eyes, I swear to God. They put on their glasses, and if you look carefully, you can see the glasses there's no prescription. They're clear glasses, but there's no prescription. In other words, it looks like you're being very scholarly by putting on these prop glasses with glass that has no prescription on it. So I'm not surprised about this, but I'll tell you what I am feeling, and that is that this ongoing war between Hollywood and America, they're losing badly. And they're losing it badly because the election of Donald Trump has really revealed their true colors, shows just how much contempt they have, not just for Trump voters, or half of their potential audience for that matter, but just contempt for people who are not in that room with the glittering celebrities, and of all the things about that I found offensive, and I found what Robert De Niro said to be particularly offensive, the thing that was most offensive was the standing ovation.
It's just cheap, really.
It's cheap. And Scott had a description for it, and I'm not going to steal his line because it's a perfect line.
It's okay, I don't remember it.
Well, Scott said for De Niro to do that took about as much courage as the president of Coca-Cola at a board meeting starting the meeting by saying Pepsi sucks. That's a real, you're out there, man. You want to talk about actual courage in the face of moral oppression, you'd have to go to Kanye West, who was issued death threats and told by every single person in the business, Jay-Z, Beyonce, everybody called him. Apparently, Barack Obama called Kanye West and said, you simply can't say I support Donald Trump. You can't do it. And he's right. Because if you do it, it's the end of everything they believe.
Steve, that the idea of moral courage occurs to me because I think I see a lot of sort of posturing on the right and the left, but really on the left,
it seems
to be a much more dramatic, maybe because so many actors are on the left, this idea of coming out and making a bold statement. I mean, years and years ago, award shows used to be boring events where beautiful people got up and thanked everybody they ever knew for making it possible for them to get this award. And now it's just like they're just teeing up what their political issue is and giving people an opportunity to drone on. Yeah, and it's even more boring than it was when they were listing. It's like, before it used to be like reading the acknowledgments in a book, and now it's even worse than that. But Steve, what has gotten into some of Hollywood's finest actors, as Bill reminded us. Meryl Streep a couple of years ago, or within the last couple of years, actually dressed up in what I'll call Trump face. I mean, she put on a wig and she mocked him, that kind of did a parody of him at one of these things. Why the obsession, and why this method of dealing with that obsession?
I can get to the obsession, I think so, but first I want to talk about what Bill was saying about Hollywood being at war with America and losing badly. You don't have to look any further than this weekend's box office receipts, or last weekend's, I guess, to see that that's true. The Solo movie got knocked off the top perch by Ocean's 8, which, by the way, my wife and I went to see on Sunday, and we enjoyed the heck out of it. This was not Lady Ghostbusters. This was just a damn good caper flick, and I'm a sucker for a good caper flick, that happened to star Sandra Bullock and a bunch of her gal pals, and it was just a riot. Lots of good fun. But what was essentially supposed to be a movie marketed at women knocks Solo off the top spot, and a Star Wars movie is going to lose money. The Solo movie is going to make less money than Empire Strikes Back in unadjusted for inflation dollars. It's probably going to hit about $200 million in this country. Empire made more than that, and just for inflation, Empire probably is going to make 2 to 2.5 times more money than Solo, which is going to lose money for Disney. So that is their war on America. They SJW Star Wars, and people are rejecting this. They're losing. And Hollywood hates Trump. And they don't hate him because he's a loudmouth and because he's kind of buffoonish, although he is. Because he used to be one of them. You know, Trump
That's the answer.
Yes, Trump used to hang out with all the WWE guys, and, you know, he's a real New York real estate developer. These rich liberals are his friends going way back. But he turned his back on that and become something much more like a conservative. And worse than that, he stuck an R after his name. And then he beat Hillary Clinton for president, even though it was her turn. If you can imagine such a thing. So they hate him because of that. But there is a dynamic going on here. Yes, I said Trump is a loudmouth. He insults people. He calls Justin Trudeau a loser and a liar. He calls Kim Rocket Man. He had one of the best lines of the whole presidential campaign when he was asked why he didn't do more prep for his debates with Hillary Clinton. And he said, "I just don't have to prepare that hard to sound like a human being," which is just a great and vicious and true line. But what he never did was attack Hillary Clinton voters. He never said, well, Democrats won't vote for me because I'm a white male and they're just, too stupid to get past all that. He didn't do that. In fact, he won by winning Obama voters in Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin over to the Republican side. That's what he did. That's what's so unforgivable. So Hollywood thinks, oh, well, there's this loudmouth jerk who is winning. We can be loudmouth jerks and beat him right back, except what they're doing is insulting the people who voted for him, and as a result, even more people are going to vote for him in 2020.
I just want to add to that one quick thing, and that is that when you say that they're angry and hate him because he's one of them, used to be one of them, he's president and he's driving them crazy because he is using their language. He's using their language and their techniques. He understands the media. He understands the pop culture. When he was criticized by Meryl Streep, he just tweeted back, "She's an old has-been, overrated loser who voted for Hillary," and that just wasn't done. And I just thought that was wonderful. It's like you punch Donald Trump low, he's going to punch you back low, and that's appropriate, I think.
Bill, you just made me think of something. This gets underappreciated, and I kind of hinted at this a minute ago. But forget about Donald Trump's real estate stuff for a moment. He also made a lot of money as a promoter, as a boxing promoter, as a wrestling promoter, as a Miss America promoter. He knows this business a lot better than Hollywood does on that angle of it.
Well, the big loser in all of this, you would think would be Robert De Niro and his career, but that's not going to get hurt at all. And you would think it would be Hollywood, but they're not going to be hurt by this, at least not in the short run. Broadway is not really going to be hurt by this. I think the big loser in all of this is Bruce Springsteen. I mean, the reason why Robert De Niro was on stage was to give a special Tony Award to Bruce Springsteen, who had a one-man Broadway show that incorporated his music and stories from his autobiography and stuff like that. But the big story today is, of course, not about Bruce Springsteen. It's about Robert De Niro using the F word to refer to the President of the United States. And wow, what incredible moral courage he displayed there. I agree with Bill. To a certain extent, I think what this transmits to the public, to us, is that De Niro thinks he's on the losing side. I mean, you don't do that when you're in an argument. That's like the final line when you've run out of stuff to say and you just are frustrated and you can't get across your point and you can't win and you finally go, just, you know what, just F you. And that's essentially, we have reached, what is the opposite of peak? It's the nadir. It's the
nadir, yes.
Yes. So we've reached the bottom of the argument for the left when they finally just say, well, you know what, F Trump. And that should bring great encouragement to anybody who's a supporter of the president, and to a larger extent, even people who are not necessarily cheerleaders for President Trump like myself, but who like some of the things that he's done and who like some of the ideas that have been advanced by his actions. So that's actually a positive thing, I mean, for all the ridiculousness of this. But I think it is, at some point, the left is going to start realizing, perhaps, or they'll just go away, that there are actually people to be won over if you can avoid insulting everybody you come in contact with. I mean, you can't grow the movement by insulting more and more people. If you want to, it's funny, I said this during the election, there were so many people who were so virulently anti-Trump that even though I was not a supporter of the candidacy of Donald Trump, there were times when I heard things and I thought, you know what, I might as well just support that guy because the people who oppose him are just completely whacked. They're literally driving people into the arms of the people that they oppose. And I know that they don't see this, and I guess I should be glad that they don't see this, but it's marginalizing and shrinking their own audience, marginalizing themselves and shrinking their own audience. So, you know, Mr. De Niro, I wasn't watching the Tony Awards anyway, so you go ahead and keep doing that. And people around the world are getting the impression that this is what the U.S. entertainment industry is about, when it used to be the hallmark of Americanism. People used to watch movies overseas because they admired America. And by the way, one follow-up, Robert De Niro the next day or the day after that went to Canada, where he is an investor in a restaurant chain with a famous chef up there. And he gave a speech up there and began his speech by apologizing for his president. And then apologizing not only to the Canadian people, but to Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of Canada, for President Trump.
He's a punk.
Just, you know, I guess I'm kind of hesitant. We should keep this episode members only, Bill, so that it doesn't get out there, because I don't really want the left.
No, we don't want
figure
people to
out
realize how badly they're blowing their own feet
how
out, yeah.
effective their strategy is for enhancing the growth of the movement on the right. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to the members at BillWhittle.com for making Right Angle possible.
And if you don't agree with Scott Ott, F you.